All right, call the physical plant meeting for January 16th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Emily Swistek.
Here.
Thomas Homer.
Here.
Jay Fisher.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Beth Cullen.
Here.
All right. Before we go to agenda item 2, just want to make a mention that former trustee, and I believe one of the founders of the Lisle Library District 2, Barbara Rope, passed away on Sunday, so I just want to send a condolences to her family and many friends for her loss. And then I'll move back onto the agenda here. Opportunity for visitors to speak. Don't see anybody, so we will move on to agenda item 3, which is approved minutes of the August 20th, 2018 Physical Plant Committee meeting. And I have a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2018 Physical Plant Committee meeting.
Second.
Marge seconds. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Emily Swistek.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Jay Fisher.
Abstain.
Thomas Homer.
Aye. Agenda item 4 is elevator project update.
Okay, I'm going to have Beth lead that conversation.
The elevator is being tested and used. There's still a few more things that they are doing. The Coley elevator, they'll be working through Friday on their installation. The electrician for Johnson Controls was here today. They're going to also be here through Friday. They were putting their electrical wiring in the shaft today, all the way to the top where the smoke detector is at the top that is hardwired into our fire detection system. So they both are having a timeline where they hope to be, if they're not finished Friday, Monday, and then they would start scheduling testing, and then the village would have inspection. So we are sort of on the timeline of the village.
In regards to inspections.
Yes, in regards to inspection. So far, they haven't run into any problems. It's going according to how they laid out their plans.
Everything's going fairly smoothly. So we're happy, and we think we can wrap this by the end of the month.
How now would the village be able to come in pretty quick? I mean, we're not gonna have like the elevator's good to go, but we've got to wait for the village inspection. Will they come out pretty quick?
We hope.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's in their hands. I
Okay.
mean, once our crew is done,
Yeah.
it's in the village's hands to come out and inspect. We anticipate it should be pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably
Hoping by the end of the month. Hoping.
So the elevator the project should be done Friday or Monday, right? This Friday or Monday?
That's what they told us
And
today.
then they'll be testing for just.
And I can't say that that's starting Tuesday,
Okay.
but that's scheduled.
Okay, all right. So still could be another week or two at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were targeting the end of the month, and I think we're on target.
Okay. Alrighty, and then we will move on to agenda item. Anybody else have any questions on the elevator? Agenda item 5. We'll take these one at a time. These are strategic plan initiatives. These were some projects, some smaller, some a little bit maybe. Well, most of them smaller for the most part, except for maybe when we get the stormwater report. So we're going to kind of go through these one at a time, and these are also part of our strategic plan. So I know we wanted to kind of keep track of that as we move along. I think all the committees wanted to do something similar. So 5A is HVAC project discussion.
Yeah, so as Chairman Hummel mentioned, I think it merits repeating some of the things we talked about in our strategic plan. And two of the objectives, or I'm sorry, not objectives, but focus points that we'd probably be focusing on most would be the facility and then also technology. And in this list of 4 items, those are the 2 buckets I think that we would be referring to. So using the facility objective, I just would like to state it, it's about providing a welcoming facility and campus that meets community needs, encourages utilization, and fosters an enriching environment. And how we're going to accomplish this is by updating and enhancing the facility structure and exterior areas as identified by the Strategic Planning Committee to improve our user experience. And then number 2 was utilize universal design concepts in projected facility projects. Number 3 was commission professional assistance when appropriate to achieve our objectives. And then number 4 referred to referring projects to physical plant, and that's what we're doing here today. So under A for HVAC, we all know our components are aging. Some components have been replaced, but we do have some other components, and Beth, you can chime in, that are still of the 30-year aged variety, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, but you know, any HVAC system, it's a system, so it's like air compressors, air handlers, it's fans, it's sensors, all those things. And right now I know we've done some maintenance work, and the first piece of maintenance work we've done in this 2019 has been what, the humidifier?
A new humidifier sensor was replaced Tuesday, and that was on one of the air handlers at the west end.
Okay.
Ironically, the state's fire marshal had the boiler inspection. That was today, and we passed.
Yay.
We have 2 boilers. One is auxiliary when it gets really cold, but this one was for the main boiler, so we'll be getting our certificate for that. Monaco is working up an idea to change some of the areas in the administrative area for the thermostats to make a comfort level better.
Right, we have 2 mechanical rooms on either end of the building, on the east and the west end. And we've got 1 air conditioning unit that sits above the adult services office, which is kind of in the middle. So we've got 3 kind of zones, and the admin office is super stuffy. And I don't know what zone we're working off of, the east or the west end zone?
West.
Okay, the ductwork that serves those offices, they're kind of like little cubbyhole offices. It's not working well for we've got 4 people working in the admin office in about a 12 by 12-ish area. It gets super hot when all 4 are in there during the day. So what Monaco is looking at is planning up some ductwork reorganizing, and they think that can help with the circulation and the temperature in those offices. So we're looking at doing something with them. We don't anticipate this being a huge project or like multi-$1,000 project, but that's something we'd like to address. And this does correspond to our facility bucket in the strategic plan under Appendix A, where it talks about reconfiguring and updating HVAC components within the building. So.
And finally, we may need new smoke detectors on the air handlers, and this would be for fire safety code updates. This is a separate project than our Johnson controls with the elevator. This came about from our annual fire testing. And again, the smoke detectors are just of an age that they're not working with the testing equipment. So this is something we'll be looking into with Johnson Controls, which is our fire safety component.
Yeah, and that's, like Beth said, another project, and it probably won't happen for a few months. But I was recently at an intergovernmental meeting, and I asked Chief Preston about this, and he referenced the 5-year kind of rotating, I forgot what it was called, it's sensitivity testing.
For the air handlers.
Right. And that's all we have under HVAC.
No.
Any questions about HVAC or project?
For the admin area, is that just the thermostats, or are you talking about ductwork too?
Ductwork.
Ductwork, okay.
And a thermostat change.
And
Not a new thermostat, will change where the thermostat, we'll give the thermostat probably from, in my office, we'll give that to the admin office.
They can have more control. But we do have to redistribute the the air movement.
Correct.
I have a question. When you talk about the air movement, I remember Will commenting in the summer how terribly hot it was in youth services. Does this address that, or we're on the other end of the building?
No, this is a different project, and
Okay.
I think that was more due to, I think we addressed that with a sensor on this end and an air handler repair.
We put in new motors in the air handlers down at this end, and
So that's pretty much taken
We should
care of.
be
We
okay.
should be okay.
Right.
Okay, great.
Right.
Do we have a bigger picture plan for what needs to be done with the HVAC? It seems like here we do something a little here and something a little there, and we're like, well, these parts are 30 years old, but it seems like, I haven't heard like a medium or longer term plan of what we need to do with the HVAC.
Well, we have brought up the fact that our HVAC system, we utilize two companies. One is for the kind of physical product, and then one is for the computer that controls the product. And this was done many years ago. We've talked about going with one company that has an overall control, and doing something like that would be thousands and thousands of dollars for a new computer. I can't remember, Beth recently spoke with Precision, which is the other company outside of Monaco. But implementing a new computer system to oversee was,
$20,000 to $25,000 for the new software system.
that's certainly something we can look at in the next budget cycle if we'd like to do something like that, because the system we have it works, it's out of date, it doesn't work great. And yes, we have been band-aiding some of the problems, but again, if you'd like us to, kind of like what we're doing with our IT, look at the overall kind of life expectancy of.
Or a facility maintenance schedule.
Yeah, and we kind of did a little bit of that when Beth presented some of the projects that we did in I think it was 2017, 18, when we replaced the air handlers. I think you had a list there of some of the ages of
Yes.
the equipment. We do have that. We can bring that back to the committee just so we can refresh ourselves on it when we start talking budgeting and things. If you like.
When you mentioned that there are two companies now involved, is one of the companies that can do the computer system is currently involved? Is it one of those two? Or is it a brand-new company?
No.
It's
We have
totally
one company
different.
that does the computer part,
Okay,
and we have
and
one
one-
company that does the physical.
And so we would
stuff.
stay with the one who's doing the computer part now?
That's not.
What I think she's asking though is there, on one of the two companies, are they able to do it all? Or
I think so, yes.
One of the two existing companies that we're
Right.
working
or do
with?
you need to bring a third
Or it would be a
company in
brand
to do the
new
whole thing?
company?
I think, what's your understanding?
Yes,
It doesn't make any, I'm just asking the question, so.
I have that same question, so thank you for asking it.
yes.
Because
Now,
you're familiar with,
I
our
think that
facility.
both of those companies would be able to do everything.
okay.
Or
I
they
really
would,
don't know why there was, I don't know why two companies were chosen in the first place. I really don't know that history.
so the company that does our physical, does the air handlers, the air conditioners, the boilers, they're under contract. They do a maintenance schedule. The computer situation, we call them in when we need them.
As needed, yeah.
Right.
And they're not
That's-
going to update that without a contract. And I mean,
Right.
we're using this existing.
It's rare that we need to call them in. We did have we did need their help, but they did then, at that time, inspected the whole computer system and electronics.
It just seems like it would be more seamless if it was
Yeah.
the same company for both.
For sure. So,
And the HVAC, some of that's though not that old, it's only, when was the last HVAC put in, like 2012 or something? I know that the big. part of
Yes,
that-
that's when
Yeah.
a lot of the work was done
Yeah.
with, and also then bringing in the computerization of the,
Okay.
So are we talking about that's something we may want to explore? Have we decided that that's,
We'll probably, when we conclude at the end of this, we'll have a bigger discussion.
okay,
So we'll get to that
all right,
later on.
thank you.
Any more HVAC questions, comments? Anything? All right, then we will move on to 5B, which is stormwater report and presentation. I know there was some stuff included in the board packet, so.
Right, so we're talking about the stormwater drainage system, just to refresh everybody, these are our retention areas. Chris, you want to start the thing? Retention areas, and also the pipe work that's underneath that guides the water, stormwater out into the sewer system. There was a report in your packet, and Beth, if you can kind of walk, we're not gonna show it yet, just yet, so you can, we're not gonna show it just yet. Yeah, Beth's gonna provide a short summary of that report, and then we'll have a brief, very brief video presentation. And again, this corresponds to number 16 in Appendix A in our strategic plan that talks about monitoring and maintaining our stormwater drainage system on our property. Okay, so Beth?
Okay, so last August or so, we recognized that we were having water collecting on Front Street, and so we brought in a company to clean that out, and also we were having issues back in the other retention pond, back in the south parking lot. So their proposal was to clean it out, and to also, they did use video equipment that they went like from manhole to manhole. So you can see in their report that they talk about where they used their testing equipment in the video, and if you, the manholes are like on this map that we included in the packet, helped with identify where it is. So the top of the is Front Street. You see the building there, and then to the right side is your far east, and then the very bottom is the south. So in their conclusions that they made, they talk about what in each section that they were scoping and making video recordings of. They talked about the south parking. So they suggested that we get some of these like catch basins or baskets, which were also in the packet. Some demonstrated that we could use those to keep the sewer line clean for the stormwater, because that water across the back south parking lot then has to empty into the east part of the parking lot, in those pipes, and it goes all the way then to Front Street. So that was part of their suggestion, is like where we're having debris, maybe from leaves, sticks, small sticks. This might be a suggestion, and they said that they have had good luck with some people using that. And then they made some proposals here of, what the results that they saw.
You can see each bullet point at the end of each little blurb, this is a priority repair, or this is something to monitor, and so on. But there's a number of them that mention them being a priority repair.
So we're going to show you video from two of these examples. So the first one we're going to show you, if you're looking at your the map here.
I just want a quick
Sure.
question. So like for something on, I think it's like the second one down, it says manhole 2HT49 to 2HT42. Is that actually on Front Street, those manholes, or is that still on our property?
That's on our property.
That's on our, so that's like in the
boulevard or-
the detention area?
No,
or
it's up on the, between the street and
in
our
the
sidewalk.
sidewalk?
Right.
So like the, what is it called, Greenway or something? Oh,
Parkway, Boulevard.
Okay. Okay, so that is ours, okay. Because I was thinking if that was on Front Street, if that was the village's, but that's ours still? Mm-hmm. Okay.
In fact, the first one we're going to show you the video of is 42 to 49, and that runs right along in that area we're just discussing, up on Front Street.
Let's just look at them and then we can talk more. Can you hit more light?
That's all I can turn it completely off.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be hard to see. Okay, so am I just double clicking?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh,
And then you can maximize it.
let me.
It's thinking.
This just tells you that it was the, you know, the date that they were working on it, and they tell you that the, it's from 49 manhole to 42.
Are you gonna narrate?
Well, when it gets to the part. Okay, so for example, here's one of the cracks that they found. I think that's gonna zoom in. They take measurements. They have it marked like how many feet in that they are.
Oh, there's a bug.
Yes, there is.
So this was the example of the, where they said there was an offset pipe, where the two pipes are not meeting correctly, and this
Oh.
is
And
the
they should be,
example.
I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're
Wow.
saying is, yes, they
Yeah,
should
they're
be.
kind of
That
broke.
can't really flow freely through there.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's it?
Was that as
Looks
far
like
as
a
it
stop.
goes? Because it's gotta get the four-wheel drive going. There we go.
I just think they're showing you up above
Yeah.
that there's some decay, and they come back to another hole here.
Well, it's definitely a break.
Yeah, wow.
How far can these go? These cameras, do you know? Did they say?
I don't, I think there was one that said it was like 70 feet though, that it did go, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably can't get over that length is my guess.
It says unable to get past.
Okay, so that's where
Oh.
they stopped here.
Okay,
Wow.
all right.
And then we're gonna show you the second one is running from 69 or 85 to 69, and that's the back part of the east parking lot.
Ooh.
When were these taken?
Like August?
August
they-
29th.
August 29th.
August 29th with this one. The other one said August 23rd, I thought.
Roots. So there's lots of roots in this one. What's going on in this pipe that we should be?
Well, as it says, that the roughness is increased, that they're seeing that the pipe is starting to decay.
Oh, I see there.
The mineral deposits.
And that's what happens before they start cracking.
Correct.
Do you know how old? Did they say?
Well, I presume that the front street is the original to the building. This east parking lot, I'm not sure. So this did go about 60 feet here, so,
So this went from 85 to 69 then?
correct.
And there we go. We have more clips, but we're not gonna show them all today, but there's others that are very similar to this
Yes,
across the dots on the map.
correct. Where they've mentioned the priorities. So, I'm not sure if there's anything else here. Oh, I think that at the end here, they're gonna show you a very small pipe that's gonna run into the, there's gonna be a 6-inch pipe that's gonna show up here at the very end. Not that, but.
Got the spider web on there.
So they're just showing you that they got to the next manhole, and there's the 6-inch pipe that comes through. Then that seems to have been run from the
Where does that come from?
south parking lot. But the question is it actually hooked up?
Oh.
Fascinating.
So that 6-inch, does that come from the detention area, or is it from the parking lot itself? That white last piece at 6
That
inch?
last piece, it seems like it would be here at this, where it's 69, but you see how the
Yeah.
green line doesn't go all the way
Yeah.
over?
Yeah.
That's what they think, that there's something in there blocking it.
Oh.
In another video, it shows like a sandbag.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something odd.
Yes.
So,
So is that pipe, the last pipe, or at the very end there, is that supposed to be like for overflow to send it to that sewer line, or they're not sure?
They're not sure. That is the section,
Yeah.
um,
85, it's like the second to last one before the recommendations, 85 to 69.
so in most of their there's one recommendation in the first one where we said it was an offset pipe. That was, I think, is excavation, where you'd have to bring in diggers and construction, and this company who did this work would not do that. The rest of the recommendations was like for putting what they call CIPP, which is liners through the pipes. And so then they were saying we had 6 priorities in that area.
yeah, and that CIPP, if you're not familiar, the house I'm living in now, that's a recommendation. It's old pipes it's this liner, and it's a standard recommendation if you're not familiar with a lot of old pipes. So it's not just this company, it's not proprietary or anything like this. Most companies who do this work will recommend doing that. It's not inexpensive. And as Beth mentioned, this particular company doesn't do all the work. I think they do the CIPP stuff, but they won't do the realigning of the pipes, because that's digging things. I'm sure there's many companies out there who do it, but we did ask, like, give us some ballparks, like, what could this cost? So Beth,
They gave us an estimate for the offset pipes, which they would not be doing, but they guessed that would be about $10,000. And then for each of the sections of that CIPP, the liners, that's anywhere from like $8,500 to $15,000 per section.
oh, okay, wow. So
Yes.
if we had 6 sections, it could be $60,000, and that's just a guess. But it's a big project.
The offset, that was like 10,000? And is that just for the 49 to 42, I think?
How many of those
40 to.
are they?
Is there 4 of those?
When you say offset,
It's the pipes that don't line up.
The ones, remember when it couldn't get over it? It
Right.
just stopped if it was abandoned? 'Cause it couldn't
right,
keep
no,
going through.
but there's 2 mentions in here of a restrictor. There's 2 restrictors in the whole system, and that's kind of like a flow restrictor.
Correct.
So you, a gush of water goes into a smaller one, so you don't through the hole. And
Right.
they recommend, ideally, if we could replace restrictors. That isn't always feasible. So I'm just wondering, the way I read it with the 2 restrictors is if those could be fixed, a lot of your problems might be solved.
So this first one, the one at the bottom of the first page,
Yeah, there's 2 mentions of
says-
it. Remove the restrictor.
it says remove it, yeah.
Right,
And
well,
then-
but, right, okay, so
Right,
just wondering if that was considered at all.
And didn't we do something with one of the catch basins, like the one in the back over there already?
We
Cleaned it
cleaned
out.
it out. We put
Okay.
new rocks in so that the water flowed
Yeah.
properly and didn't get mud into the storm sewer. As far as the restrictors go, I think we need some professional advice there.
Right, I was just
Ethan.
wondering, the village, not that, oh, I'm so sorry, hold on one second. I forgot to turn it off.
It's very calming.
Public Works Director, Jason Ilias, or, I think he's an engineer. Are these people engineers that came to evaluate, you know, the Visu or,
This company,
yeah? Did they have an engineer
we
on?
had, well, we had a company that cleaned out the catch basins, we didn't use that company for this. We called Village and asked for, and they don't give recommendations, but they did, mention this company that they had some success with, I'll say. So we went with them to evaluate and perform this
Okay.
report. I'm not sure of all of their credentials, but, they don't do all the work that they're recommending we need. So we would probably have to go out for another, you know, a larger company. I know that the village uses somebody else for their work, and they're out of
Well,
Wisconsin.
the CIPP, the lines, that's done by another company, because I went on this website, kind of looked at it. It's called National Liner. They are they're 2 separate companies, but Visu Sewer uses National Liner to do the CIPP work. The only issue, and I don't even know that it's an issue, when you have, I don't know if I would call it a subcontractor, now you have a second liability if the company that you're hiring, Visu Sewer, recommends these things, but they bring in someone else. Maybe that's standard in the industry. I mean, I'm not an engineer and I don't know sewers, but I did enough research to kind of look at the 2 different companies. Just a question.
I mean, even with our elevator, we have to work with electricians who aren't the
Right.
elevator company, or we work with the fire protection company, and they're another contractor, so that's fine. We're not saying we would use these people. All we're saying is we would like to talk with the committee and talk about what you recommend moving
Sure.
forward. I know that the board discussed, you know, we talked about the facility we're on, the property we're on, the possibility of eventually the library being on another footprint. But regardless, this is a stormwater issue that I think needs to be addressed either way.
The only question I still have with 49 and 42 is, I know, you know, I sometimes get stuff in the mail, like, because I'm on, well, we have Illinois American Water by us, so it's always like, you know, somebody's always trying to sell you on sewer work for your home. And I know there's like a cutoff, like which private property, what you're responsible for, and then where it becomes like whoever maintains the sewer. And, because it's like in that, I don't know if you want to call it a greenway or whatever they'll call it, but that's not village property, that's still, that's still.
We've called, we've talked to them
Okay.
twice. Marilyn Suko, who's
She's-
no longer there, you know, she was the one that helped provide some of these maps as to where the stormwater comes from onto our property. But yes, all of these
Yes, okay.
manholes we're responsible for, and then it runs out into the
Yeah.
street, and that's where our
I
responsibility
always thought it was like,
ends.
like roughly the sidewalks is yours, and then maybe I'm mistaken. I just always thought like the sidewalk was the cutoff.
Yeah, but any pipe work that leaves your home or property, once it then connects to,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I
even
know.
if it goes under the sidewalk
Sure,
in the
sure.
parkway.
Sure, yeah. So, so there was a couple of recommendations there. And then I know that, you know, looks like I think the 49 to 42, which was the first video we saw, that was the one that they said should be repaired as soon as possible. This should be a priority repair, although there's some other ones.
There's a
they said-
few.
Yeah, there's a.
5 or 6.
Yeah, they're prior, but this one I think had a little bit extra emphasis. It sounds like it should be repaired as soon as possible. Because let me just look at the map. Because is that pretty much then that line, it's called, where it gets into SHT 49, it looks like pretty much that's where everything drains into off our property, right? And
Yes.
And then, I mean, a little bit of 42, so that part, so besides the catch basins, this is kind of the end of it a little bit, so to speak. So if that gets fixed, and if that's some restriction, so you're fixing a restriction at the start of with the catch basin, and then you're fixing it at the end, would that solve, not all the problems, but a lot of the problems, you think?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna do it in pieces, we can do it in pieces.
What were you gonna kind of?
We are not the
Yeah,
experts here.
that's-
We could do a couple of things. We could do, if we trust this report, we can show more video, if you wanna see more video, we can send them to you.
Yeah, I would send them and.
But,
Yeah,
we can do this in a couple ways. We can do, if we trust what they're saying, we can do this project in pieces. If you want a second opinion, we could probably pay for a second opinion.
like the camera work and all that stuff too.
I mean,
or-
we can have another report done. It's not gonna be free.
Yeah, how much did this cost
I
roughly?
can't remember. Well, they did the work and then I think this
They
was
did
kind of
the
folded
cleaning.
in with it.
They were cleaning out the sections where they found problems and then the camera work, so I think that was like $12,000
The whole,
for the whole
when we had the
project.
problem, yeah. I don't think that would be the cost if we called someone in here to,
Yeah. 'Cause that would be
To just
part- yeah.
evaluate it.
yeah.
I know they said the one, like I said, was the 49 to 42 was the one that needed to be, I mean, there are other ones, like you said, they're priority repairs, but that's the one that looks like they gave a little extra emphasis, although there might be one other one.
It was 62 to 59.
Yeah, that's the other one, that should be repaired as soon as possible. Did they like say anything verbally, like?
Or
Yeah,
else.
like, well, like as far as, like a rough timeline, and it could go any time, or is it like, yeah, you got like a year or two, or is it, they didn't give nothing like that, I would say?
No.
I think this report is
It's
saying
pretty-
what they said.
Okay. So what was 62 to 59, that was the
That's the
worst one.
continuation of really the video we just looked at to
Okay.
go
Yeah,
further.
further. And that's like right in the heart of the parking lot, basically by the front door, or across the part with
The curve where
yeah,
you go
yeah.
down the,
Yeah,
What does it mean when it says portions of the pipe missing? Like there's just nothing there? Or just like chunks of, in that part for 62 to 59?
so you-
It says, with, in addition, the pipe is broken at 79.86 feet with portions of the pipe missing.
I would assume so.
I
mean, we can look
at
back
the
at that video.
the
I'm just kind
video.
of curious, like, how much of it is
Is it
missing?
Deteriorated.
And again,
You know, like-
And again, I'm not, like, we're all not like sewer repair experts.
No,
The thing I find funny is that, like you said, it says the pipe is missing, but I guess that CIPP remediation would actually still work, even if there's no pipe.
Well, if there's like a
Relines.
chunk, it
Yeah.
could be a hole.
Sure.
Piece of the
So it might
pipe
not be
Well,
like
I
a
think what
hole.
we saw there was no connection.
On-
I think
That's
that's
great.
it.
That's
I think
announced the
that's
first
it.
one, or?
No, I think the big one that
I
we
see what
all
you're saying.
oohed and ahhed about.
Yeah,
And this process, the CIPP puts a liner.
Yeah.
It connects the two.
So if there's a part of the pipe missing?
Missing, yeah.
Then it fills, okay, so you don't need like a.
a whole
it's
new
like a-
pipe.
Like a bathtub
You're not a whole
liner,
new
you
pipe,
know,
right, you're
some
just
people have it.
shooting a liner through there,
Okay.
I would think. I don't.
So.
What do others want?
Any suggestions how, I mean, you want to get, do you guys want to like get estimates, like in parts and also a total if you did the whole thing,
Well,
and bits and pieces,
first of all, I
like a la
think
carte.
do we want another opinion?
Or do you
Or
want
do we
another
want to go
opinion?
with Vizu? I mean, since we don't have any experience
No, I
at
understand.
all and
Do you want a second, I mean, it depends on the cost. I mean, if it's only, I don't know how much these camera jobs are.
well,
If it's
you
only a
mentioned
couple-
12,000 and that was with the cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be reasonably less, I would
Yeah,
assume.
it's, I mean, if it's,
I mean, I would presume that another company would look at these videos.
they would, but wouldn't they do their own, you think?
I don't think so. I think they would look at the
I mean,
ones that we have.
we have this as part of our, why repeat? You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
got this
well,
information.
I understand what you're saying, but by the same token, if it's included in the price, why wouldn't you just have them do
Well, you
another
talk
video?
them out of that part of
Pardon?
the price.
Oh,
You
okay,
just
she's
say, we
saying-
have this information, so you can chop that price down. The question is, do we want a second opinion? We can maybe call the people the village are currently using. I don't know if they actually use this particular company.
They
Maybe
were
way
actu-
back. What?
Oh, this company?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know that they've actually, but they know that this company's done work in the village.
Okay.
Wouldn't you think the villages had the same problem though? I mean, somewhere, not a
Sure.
massive.
I know they
Yeah.
use somebody else out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I know the park district, I think, has used somebody for like their parking lot in the community park or by the fitness center, like one of the two properties, or maybe both of them. I don't know what company they use.
They have lots of flooding issues up there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
but I don't know if that was, which lot that was.
So I guess the question is,
Do you want a second opinion? Is that the first question?
no.
Okay.
The question is, do we want a second opinion, but I guess the question is, do we believe that these are priorities? And do we want a second opinion because we want to either say yay or nay to the priority list here? Do we believe that these are priorities? So maybe it would make everybody, this is going to be a large project with a large price tag.
Well, especially if we do the what they said is.
If we do all
was
the
it
priorities.
60
Yeah.
62 to 59, I mean, that, that would probably, I would assume, affect, the front of the building, because it's, even though it's on that side of the parking lot, it's still near the front door, where at least the other one is in the back half of the property, so you at least probably close that section of the parking lot down for how many days, and then the other one's more on Front Street, so it wouldn't really affect too much for operations, but that one, you know.
I'm not that concerned about the
Okay.
operations part of
Yeah.
it. But I think it's.
I think we'd like to know more about, as Marjorie said, the restrictors.
Sure.
And what it's doing to the water flow. I think we'd like to know if the estimates verbal estimates that we sort of received, are those really,
And it's, yeah, and it's
Logical?
probably- if we-
Yeah.
And if we do a second opinion, obviously now's the time to do it, why it's still kind of winter, because in the springs when you get the thaw, and if there's any,
Right.
I mean, it
Right.
could always happen in the winter time too
Right.
nowadays, but, so, so I guess, so we want to look at a second opinion, are you comfortable with this, or second opinion up to a certain amount of money, like if it's $10,000, I don't know, we want to.
Well, if this company that came in and did this work is not the ones who would be doing the repairs,
Yeah.
I feel like we need to talk to a company that would do the repairs and say, okay, what do you recommend based on these findings? Do you agree with it? Because they'll look at the same thing. And then we can go from there. I feel like we need to be talking to someone who knows or who's able to do the
Do it all.
repairs to get an idea about really what we're looking at
Right.
and how much it's gonna cost and all
So
of that.
I'm sure if we can pull a company in to come in and give us a verbal second opinion. After that, we would have to go out to bid for this project, because it will probably be over $25,000. So, and that brings me to another point. We have some policies regarding this that are very outdated. And so we have a policy meeting scheduled for, in February, that I'd like to, and this is not on the agenda, but we need to update this policy before we move forward with going out to bid, because we want to be in compliance with our policy. So it does relate to what we're talking about right now. So that'll be on the docket, but the policy manual now, since we have to publish in 4 local papers, that's not going to happen, and there's a lot of other, it references statutes, I wanna make sure that's correct, it's referencing the right statutes, so, just FYI, so if you go back home and take a look at your policy manual regarding bidding, just know we're going to have to address those, or at least that one. What is it, policy?
705.
So, anywho, we'd go out for bid for this project too.
Yeah.
So is that what the
So,
committee wants to do?
so the second opinion, but would it be like a company like this, or would it be somebody that would do the work would come in as for the second opinion? Because they would set them out to bid to other people though, correct?
I think we would want, I think the committee wants to know that the second opinion we receive is from a company who would know what they're doing and could do all this work. Now, if they,
Well, that was my point that I made about the subcontractor not knowing what else to call it, because the company you retained does the evaluation. There's another company that actually does the work.
So that, yeah, I think,
So since we have the evaluation, why wouldn't we get the second company in to tell us what it's gonna cost? Approximately, I'm sure they can.
but then it would,
Why not?
because I know, yeah, I think we're all kind of on the
Okay.
same page, but, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, so there would be the second company you're talking about, and they would say, you know, it's gonna be this, this, and this, and would they put like the bid together, that we would have to bid out to everybody else? Because obviously they wouldn't get the contract, because it's gotta go, it's gonna probably be over 25,000. So,
they're not putting a bid together, I think we have to know what, I wanna know
okay. well,
what
so-
everybody,
Forget the second opinion, so what would everybody want to do, depending what the second opinion says, is I guess what you're probably,
I think the question is, why do you want a second opinion? Do you wanna know if these are priorities or not? Is there a question about these being priorities? Is that,
I think it's a priority based on their
So-
evaluation.
so everybody's comfortable with what this company is saying is priorities, are priorities?
Well, by the looks of the little bit of the video we saw, it's
what do you,
not that I'm an engineer.
yeah, I mean, what does staff think on this? I mean, do you consider it
I think these
Yeah.
things need to be addressed.
no matter what?
Yes, all of them.
Even if we're not, because I guess that's, you know, we talk about here, or maybe,
Right.
so,
I-
but you think
yes.
regardless? we should-
Regardless.
Okay.
Beth?
I mean, the last 2 years, we have had to hire sewer workers to clean out the retention areas. And, you know, there was cleaning needed both times. This time, it was more expensive, and we had better camera footage to tell us what's kind of going on in these areas.
And
As
we
far as
also did it the year prior in the detention pond. So there's been
Issues,
every year, you know,
yeah, and it's not cheap usually to repair.
no.
So I'd like to solve the problem. I'd like to know more about the restrictors and how the water from the south parking lot gets funneled into the east parking lot. So I think we need to get some more, if this is the scope of the work that we're gonna do, the 7 priorities, then I think I'd like to find people that could do the work.
I agree.
No, I question it, so we're gonna bring in a second company to look at this then, or this is gonna be like what we're gonna bid out?
That's the question.
Okay. So,
I mean,
This is
this
the
company's saying,
Right.
you need to do
Yeah.
this, it's a priority, they can't do it all. And my question to the committee is, do you believe it, and should we move forward?
thoughts? Any thoughts?
No, what?
Any thoughts? I mean, I know as far as.
I thought you would, no.
I guess, well, just for this, how the process works, so if we're comfortable with this, is this what you would use like as to go out to bid? And then whoever bids on this would be using this as a,
In general, and Beth and I kind of played with that idea, if this is the way the committee wanted to go. in regards to going out for RFP and, I'm sorry, going out for bid. You know, way back when the library had a construction manager who kind of helped out with this. We could look at that because none of us are experts on this. And we could call somebody to help us, walk us through this particular process regarding this construction work. You could look into that.
Well, and I
Again, this
feel
is
like-
not gonna be, we're not gonna make the decision tonight
No.
or anything like
Yeah, no,
that.
'cause it
Well,
has
and
to
I
go to
feel like
board.
too, I mean, if we're using this as our basis and put it out to bid, the companies are, they're still gonna wanna look at it and then they're gonna make the recommendation based on what we have anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I know the last consultant or contract manager, construction manager we have is Jack Hayes or whatever the name of the company is. Does he do this type of work too, or is he more
Give them a
building?
call. We can give them a call. I know there's others out
Yeah.
there, so we can, you know, see who's available, see who's willing, see what they'll charge, see what happens
Yeah.
there.
Well, I keep going back to
The second
a
opinion?
second opinion.
Okay.
I mean, if this were my home and I had a major sewer problem, I would not accept the first recommendation that I got. Not being a sewer expert,
Yeah,
I mean,
right, it's the tough thing, you know, we're not,
it's tough. but-
because
We
we're,
can even, I mean, any construction manager we talk to is going to be probably experienced in projects like this, and if we show the construction manager this report and some of the video, they can maybe be that second opinion.
Right, I agree with that.
And then help us through this bidding.
because sometimes, the only thing I mean, it's better than nothing, but I know they always, sometimes the pay would be, unless they're managing a project, I guess it's not what they'll be doing hopefully, but, you know, it's always like their pay is like a percentage of the project, but this.
I would rather it be
not
like a
flat- like a
consulting
flat
fee, something like that. We can do something.
So do you want the
You like that idea?
You want the director to like talk to a?
Well, what are the thoughts of the other committee members? You're looking at me to make
No,
the
I'm
decision.
looking at it this way.
Well, no. We're the committee.
Okay, well, what do you think, Emily?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Tatiana contacting a construction manager and showing them what we have and.
But we have one that we've used,
Jack Hayes.
familiar with our landscape.
Would staff feel comfortable with that too? Because I mean, in fairness, you guys are experts in this field too. I mean, I know. Okay, no, I'm just saying, I mean, I'm sure you would.
Well,
probably
may I
have-
ask, is the construction manager, would that person have recommended this company already? Is there any relationship there? And who's our construction manager?
We don't have
But
one.
is-
Well, okay, so, all right, now I'm confused.
Yeah.
Okay, we have probably not used them since 2012.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There's
They're
nobody
familiar
under,
with our footprint, our elevations, everything.
But they have never been involved in any project like this for us, the sewer project.
and if
Not
they
that
don't
we
have
know
an
of.
expertise,
Okay.
I'm sorry, and if they don't have an expertise in this, you could always find somebody else like a sewer
Right.
consultant
Well, another construction manager.
or construction manager. So,
Okay.
you want to go that route, and then depending what they come back with, is that what we would want to probably then, let's just for the sake of discussion, they say, yeah, this is
This is,
what we need to do, then do you want to?
Then put out for bid, right?
Put it out to bid, is
Yes.
that what you want to do? Okay.
okay,
But let's take that
Okay.
first step.
First step, so
Okay.
construction manager for this.
Consultant.
or
Okay.
consultant,
Consultant.
okay.
And we'll reach out, and if there's any exorbitant fees,
Oh, yeah. 'cause
we
you-
won't go
yeah.
forward, we'll let you know, and then we
Yeah.
can schedule something.
Okay.
Maybe
And would this come out of .02, or would this be special reserve, or it depends?
not special, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. We're not spending any money yet,
Okay,
we're just making phone calls.
okay. And obviously, like you said, if it goes out to bid, that would need board approval, because
Yeah.
that will definitely be over,
Yeah, yeah,
most likely over 25,000, okay.
Okay. All right,
Next item is 5C, which is keyless entry discussion.
Okay, so we've talked about keyless entry before, or mentioned it out loud. And we actually have the beginnings of a keyless entry system in the building, believe it or not, way back when, a few directors ago. This was discussed, and some equipment was installed at the receiving end of the library where we receive materials. It's like a box on the wall, it's not really connected. But that project never went forward. And so regardless, I mean, there's a chance we could utilize that equipment again. We've talked to somebody just verbally, and they said it's possible, not 100% sure, but the wiring is there. But the concept itself involves accessing the building via a swipe card or a key fob. And this allows for more, again, we're talking about not using metal keys anymore. It's access to the building. It allows for replacement, you know, because right now if someone loses their key, or if we have a changeover in board members, or you don't have keys but access codes to the building, or if we have a large changeover with employees, or if we have a disgruntled employee, that kind of thing, we would have to rekey all the locks, and that's an expense. This way, you can just have the program, you can reprogram all key cards or key fobs, you can issue volunteer key fobs, you can issue temporary fobs to people.
For like construction.
Yeah.
You can deactivate, right?
You can deactivate easily, you can print one off easily or reactivate because you have a bank of fobs or a bank of cards. There's also other features to the fob or the card. You can kind of connect it to your network where you can have printing capabilities. You can use it for queuing print jobs, and it saves you paper because if you work on a lot of things and you send it to the printer, you don't actually print it until you get there and swipe your fob. So there's a whole lot that goes into it. We have just scratched the surface and trying to reach out to companies and see who's out there, who does it. There's a company in town who does it, and then we also have a company we utilize now, actually two companies that we use for other services, Johnson Controls and Konica Minolta, who offer this service too. So this is just something I think is the way things are going, and I think we should investigate. Just wanted your opinion and thoughts on it. It does involve the facility and the building. The other thing is you can restrict access to certain areas of the building. So some people, like a bank of people, can have access to this stuff, and you know, this bank of people have access to everything and whatnot.
Would the admin office then have the key?
Yes, instead of the numbers.
So then trustees would have to get
A card or
a card or something for that. Okay.
If you lost your card, we can issue a new one, rekey it, put in a new code. You don't even have to
And then
know a code
you could
anymore.
also see, I'm assuming there would be like for just you or the rest of the select staff,
Who's
like
in the
who's
building.
in the building as far as.
Right, so
and
that's
then-
like a safety, it's a security issue.
Did you say what time the park district?
Park District does have it. Yeah, they've installed it on all their doors too. At the recreation center. So I use it to get into the building in different parts of the building.
This also corresponds with our technology and innovation bucket in our strategic plan. It goes under the IT that talks about enhancing our network and facility security. So this does also match with our goals in the strategic plan.
And what was the cost roughly?
So we, actually with three companies, our security camera company also does this. I forgot about them. So we just were talking when they were doing our security cameras and like, hey, do you do this too? And what did they say, ballpark? 10?
Yes.
$10,000?
Like initial, or is there like a maintenance fee, or is it just once you do it?
You know, we don't really have all that information. Now,
Gotcha.
we'd like to bring it to this committee, but we wanted to know if there's support for it. So they talked about $10,000, $12,000. The company that was local, that we just, again, verbal, he actually walked over and looked at our equipment outside, and he said, oh, maybe it might be usable. So he was much less expensive and said maybe in the $5,000-ish range. So.
And would it be, so, like the door where the deliveries are, admin office, Is this front door you would have it too?
Yeah, or we would utilize this
Or
door.
this one, okay. I mean,
Didn't
how
even
many,
realize there
I
was a
guess how
door
many?
We would
I guess
have to
that's what I'm
do
saying,
an
how many-
assessment.
How many doors, yeah.
Yeah, how many doors,
We would
yeah.
have to assess it, and that's what they asked, and we're like, we don't know. It was just an off the cuff kind of ballpark it, and then they said, well, you need to count all the doors, you need to talk about what kind of doors, internal, external, all those things matter.
And I guess the other thing too, in my mind is it something that, let's say you put one, I don't know, pick a door, let's say by the admin office, but then we change that area, like it's not an admin office anymore, we move things around. I mean, could you move like that? Is it inexpensive and possible to move a keyless entry from one door to like another
I don't
area?
know.
Okay,
I don't know.
that's the question. I just don't want to do something, it's like, oh, you gotta take it out, and it's gonna cost you the same amount.
We
or-
can look into that.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to bring that to the committee so we are all aware, and we can come back with,
So do you want the director to look into this?
I think it's,
They go, just to look into it, obviously we're not
Yeah,
committing to it,
no.
but, okay.
okay, thank you. All right,
And the last one on the agenda is item 5D, universal design for restroom project discussion.
okay. So in keeping with the strategic plan facility projects, and under the same, what I would say is project umbrella, when we installed the automatic doors, the handicap accessible automatic doors for the restrooms, modifying the sink counters in the restrooms for both wheelchair users and children, I think is something we should do now. We're not talking about installing a new bathroom upstairs or anything like that right now, but like I said, under that umbrella of making our restrooms that we have now more accessible, more inclusive, I think we need to talk about cutting away our counters and making them more user-friendly for people in wheelchairs and children. Right now, we have some stools in there for the kids, and that is not a good safety issue there. And our counters right now are ADA compliant in terms of a wheelchair being able to roll in and use, but they're not optimal. The sinks and the faucets are far back, and a lot of bathrooms, I don't know if you've seen, the mirrors are tilted a little bit so that people who are in a wheelchair can use the mirrors. Right now, if you're in a wheelchair and you roll up, I mean, it's not easy. So we'd like to investigate what it would cost to modify the counters in these two restrooms. I know we have two others on the other floor. There's a limited space in there. We can have those assessed. I don't know if it can be done down there, but we should probably look into it and see what that would cost too. But at least I think we should take care of these two restrooms and do a cutaway, adjust the sink, adjust the faucet, that it reaches forward, and adjust the mirror, or have a mirror installed that is on an angle.
I had Stevens Plumbing come out, who
They're
does
our
this
plumber.
kind of work and is our plumber, and they came in and looked at the two bathrooms, especially because one of the, in the men's room, the backsplash counter is falling apart. So we kind of felt really, it worked, for our advantage at the same time to take care of this. And he mentioned a couple things, like if you have those under counter sinks mounted, and the cleanings, they stay cleaner. We're having an issue with the soap residue being on the counter. We can address a couple of those issues. So Stevens Plumbing came to look, and we talked about, so they're gonna think about what they could do. And I'm also talking, we're gonna go see the bathrooms over at the Park District. That's in our planning, and see who, we know who they used and whatnot, so.
They don't have a lower sink in there. They have a step stool.
Really?
Really?
In the main one in the recreation center. So yeah, when you come, it's just, so they have two sinks. I've never been in the men's, so I don't know. But they have two sinks, and one of them they have a step stool that you can pull out to use.
I spoke to the director, and he was talking about like that they have the modified toilets for little kids.
That's in the preschool classrooms,
Right.
but not in the public restrooms.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see what they have in the C-Spar area.
Yeah, I haven't gone into the bathrooms in the C-Spar area, so that would be something to
That
look
might
at
be an
too.
area to look.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if the senior center, I don't think.
Senior center just has regular
Is it,
bathrooms.
okay, so then I would C-Spar might be a nice
Okay.
point to check out. So,
And we don't think this is gonna be a project that's like $25,000 or anything like that, so we'd like to reach out to some of the, or other organizations, see who they used, get some quotes out and see what we can do there.
yeah, I think C-Spar, probably if you're looking at the park district, that might not be a bad.
Okay.
Now I feel like walking into the senior,
Yeah.
the senior
Or
center
senior-
ones,
yeah,
look
just
at that
to
on
see.
Friday.
So explore that, is everybody, so have the director and staff explore that, okay. And then, let's see here, and then, okay, that's what we have on the agenda, and then as far as we wanna do a next meeting,
Yeah, like the schedule and next
next meeting,
meeting.
because now I think we're at the point, you know, we've met infrequently over the last couple of years. But now I think it's gonna start picking up, either every month or every other month at least.
Every month, I think.
So,
I'm going to kindly ask that we don't meet in February, because we have a number of things here that is gonna require us to make appointments with, some people, and trying to juggle that, juggle these 4 in 1 month, I'm asking for a month.
yeah,
So if we could meet in March, and I have a few dates. I've got an early date, and then I've got some middle of the month dates in March, that'd be great. And again, back to my previous comment on the bidding, we do have a personnel policy committee in February, mid-February, so I'd like to kind of tweak that one policy before we
Absolutely.
move forward. And so having a meeting in March, I think, makes the most sense. So the first date I have in March, the board meeting's on the 13th, but the Wednesday before that Wednesday is the 6th. We've got a 7 o'clock opening. And then the Monday after the board meeting on the 18th, we have a 7 o'clock opening, so.
how about March 6th, because probably the sooner the better, I would say. March
Can you
6th.
do that?
I can
Wednesday,
do
March
that.
sixth?
Jay, you could do March
What
6th?
time,
Okay.
Tom?
7 o'clock,
7.
Okay.
All right, great.
March 6th.
That was easy.
Yep.
March sixth.
So March 6th at 7 PM.
Great, thank you.
And, let me just put this in my calendar. Okay. And then, I guess, like how we, excuse me, how we just talked about for the sewer project, maybe bringing in the construction manager, I guess you would call it. So going forward, as we start moving along here, for not just the sewer's more specific, but I mean, do we wanna, not yet, we're not gonna commit to anything, but maybe could be, I guess, discussed at the March meeting probably. Do we wanna start thinking about and put it in our heads, maybe, hiring or with a construction manager, not a construction manager, a building consultant, like just to take an inventory of what everything is? I know like Jay mentioned like the HVAC and other stuff, masonry, electrical,
We need a foundation.
foundation,
Curbs, roadway.
curbs, roadway, yeah.
What
Down
would
the
you, what would
line.
you call this type company?
It's like a
or-
facility maintenance schedule or,
Oh, she's talking about the company.
Oh, the-
I mean, like.
It would be a construction manager. I mean, I think they do like building assessments and seeing,
Okay.
it's not an architect, it's someone who can either cost out or estimate the lifespan of the physical building, the footprint it's on. It's not like a space study or anything like that.
Okay.
It's more life expectancy
Yeah.
of. But that's, I think, down the line, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could discuss.
Something to think about.
March 6th, I'm sure it wouldn't be cheap, I don't know, would it be under late time?
Don't know.
Probably be right around that threshold.
We will do
but-
some
Work.
looking.
Yes. So I guess,
Not
I
even
mean,
talking.
we're not committing to it, you know, just to.
Think about it.
Think about it.
Get it, you know, in our heads, so.
Yep.
So, you know,
Look at that.
I think it's an eventuality,
Yeah.
but it's
yeah, just to
not
see,
happening
you
yet.
know, Yeah. Has anybody got any questions, comments, anything else before we adjourn? Nothing? All right, then can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the physical
Motion.
plan
All right.
committee meeting.
Second?
Seconded, All aye?
Aye?
Aye. Or do we want to take a roll call? All aye, okay. All aye, we're adjourned. Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.